Yeah.
There you go. Make sure there's no duplicates in there.
Yeah, I know one of them is.
Okay. We're up and running. Get some of the flags to it.
Got to raise my hand for somebody.
That's right. I read it.
You read it too?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
read
wait,
it
it's our
too.
left hand. Wait, raise your left
I
hand.
responded. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can respond to that left hand. I'm not going to raise my left hand.
Well, I didn't
That
either
seems
because I
very-
read it.
That's very condescending.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Very was condescending.
So that's
I
my
agree.
opinion on that.
So we're here for our budget work session, and I know Susan has been working very diligently on trying to get this thing to look like what we want it to look like.
Yep. I think we're close.
I think we're close.
I think we're close. The front page, I took all the wages paid by department, plus FICA, plus health benefits, plus the new increases, so that you guys could see how much we're spending by department.
Okay.
Kendall, I'll get you a copy of all this after the meeting. Just so that you have some idea of what it truly is costing to run departments. And like I said, this is taking their budget plus also the employee benefits side of things.
This is everything.
This is everything.
You want me to read them off?
You don't have to. It's
Okay.
whatever you want to do. It's up to you guys.
I don't really want to. But it totals up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 items, and one of them's the medical building is on there. It totals up to $5,735,157.98.
Yeah.
Now, this is just wages and benefits and
It's
what else?
wages, benefits, and taxes.
And taxes. Okay.
So this is all in.
This is all in.
I thought something else. Yeah, taxes, okay.
Yep. Yep, be capers, retirement would be
Yeah.
in there as well. So,
And this is available to the public if they want it.
yeah, if they want to see it, yep.
This is current or projection, 3%?
This is 3% projections,
Good to,
yep. And I also have 2 vacant positions that I've built into that. One was at the medical building, and the other one, oh gosh, I'd have to go back and look. There was 2 vacant positions though that I had built into this as well. Okay, so the next page. I put this on top. It's usually your last page in your budget document, but it shows the changes. Over last time we were here, we were up 2 mills. After I went back and recalculated the health insurance calculations, we've used some of the Arpa funding. We've used some of the windmill money. We are down 2 mills, 2.5 mills. We are almost at our revenue neutral rate number. Not quite, but almost there. So just a little bit above it. 62.13 is the revenue neutral rate, and we are at 62.5, which is less than we were last year at 64.931. And this includes a 3% raise for all employees except for elected officials.
That's a 2 mil drop.
2 mil drop.
that's almost 2.5 mils down.
Down.
That's excellent.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Let me go grab my book real quick because I have some more notes. Some of the things that are in the guts of this document is 3% raise. We've used $250,000 of the windmill money to accomplish this. to have a 2 mil drop. The ARPA funding we've used for public safety. We used $39,000 for this year and $50,000 for next year. That is a qualifying expense that you can use. And then we're using the sales tax for the jail. Those dollars are paying down our debt service as well as the capital improvements that have been requested, even the one that he has requested most recently.
So does this cover the expenses of the vehicle that they're
Yes.
requesting and the radios?
Yes.
For the body cams?
Yes, it can cover both of those. In addition, we will put him on every year there'll be two cars that are turned out, and so that gets him on a schedule so that we're not having to do 5, 6, 7 cars at one time. We're doing 2 every year.
We will replace vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's pretty much the changes that have been made. We can go through fund by fund if you want to. I just wanted to give you the highlight of where we are from the last time that we met. If you'll skip through all this debt service here, it's about 4 or 5 pages down, we'll get to the general fund.
I just have one question.
Okay.
Using the wind farm money and the
ARPA?
ARPA money, did all departments stay flat? Who got increases, who got decreases?
You got increases.
There was increases across departments. So if you had, like I'm going to use like the conservation district, they asked for I think a $10,000 increase. They got it. So we were able to give all the increases that were requested as well.
Okay.
I don't think there was any departments that were cut anything.
No.
We were looking at possibly having to cut public safety because it was going to raise taxes, but we used the ARPA funding to kind of offset that.
Yeah. Now what would we do when this goes away?
That'll be the next thing. We'll have to they'll have to make some budget changes, but hopefully maybe they can get staff aligned. Because right now I think they're having a lot of overtime because there's so much turnover. And so we're hoping that maybe that will help them get their feet back underneath them, get some capital items replaced, and that will help reduce some expenditures in their budget.
Well, you know, the comment's been made more than once that we need to use the wind generation money to reduce taxes. This is an example of it.
Yeah.
You know, we're lucky this year, might not be so lucky next year, but
Right.
we do have ARPA funds that we can supplement public safety
Yes.
because of the COVID.
Right.
Next year, and this year, and next
And
year.
this year and next year.
Yeah, the
You
third.
honestly can do it till 2024. So
Okay.
if you need to set aside some of those dollars,
Yes.
until
Okay.
2024, and then
So it gives you about
each
3
year, I think
years.
we just continue to revisit and look for ways to have savings.
I know you worked hard on this, and maybe this is something the commissioners should have done. The people that wanted $10,000 or $20,000 increase, did you ask why? Did they say why they wanted increase in their reporting?
No.
So if
that's-
Road and Bridge said I want 100,000, or Bill Martin said I want 100,000, we don't know what they want it for.
Bill Martin's, he was able to explain to me all of his needs, and to be quite honest, it was probably underfunded a little bit in his area last year. To be able to meet even just the demands of the hours. What we'd like to see is to reduce some overtime
Yeah, we
in that
need that,
area. Yeah. So I think that's something that we can work together
Well,
on.
another thing you reduced too was they got a 3 cent per gallon
Yeah. Discount.
decrease in their fuel costs, which is quite substantial.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, we were able to get them a discount on that, and then some of the things that they were paying for services, because they are getting the new body cams, it will reduce their expenditures by $8,000 just because we're getting new. We're not having to extend some service contracts.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
really, in general, the other departments really didn't share with you what they want to increase for.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not good cause, I just was curious.
Yeah, most of them, like in the road and bridge, we really talked through. We have a good 10-year plan. I feel very comfortable with what they're using their dollars for. some of the smaller people that came in and asked for, like, a conservation district, I have no idea other than what their presentation was.
Well, yeah, the people like mental health and all the other groups that come in and ask, it's because of inflation and the cost of doing business is what they're really promoting to us, and I can understand that. Saying, especially when you're running a 5 or 6% inflation rate now, you know, it's very hard to meet those demands. Now I know on the Arpa funds that we can also use it for
Mental health.
for public health.
Yeah, you can use it for public
You know,
health, mental health.
And I know right now, with what's going on, they're spending a lot of money and a lot of time on contact tracing, and that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a conversation as a group that we need to have aside from the budget. I just went ahead and budgeted the full amount that we have to spend, so we have the spending authority. But we really do need to put a plan in place of how we're going to spend those dollars, because we have to do reporting to the federal government. So that would be probably just a work session in itself to really talk through. Maybe get some stakeholders in the community and say, you know, what do you think's the best use of these funds?
Yeah. So. We're looking at a 62.5 mil for 2022. Versus a 64.5 for
6491.
2021. So that's, and how much is a mil? 200 or 110, 115,000?
110,000.
110,000. So we're looking at $220,000.
So that's a 2.5 mil drop. Yeah. That's pretty good. And on these debts, it shows the payments due 2022. Does any of these numbers represent the balance on the notes?
Yes, if you'll look in that, about the middle of the column, it'll show you what your outstanding balance was as of January 1st of 2021.
Where it says beginning?
Beginning amount outstanding.
Beginning principal? We're looking at a different sheet.
Maybe we're looking at a different sheet.
I'm looking at a different sheet. You
We'll
are.
look at okay, hang on. Let's go back. That's not the right sheet either. This is the one you're looking at.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I think. Yeah.
Yes, this is what the actual note was for. So it doesn't tell you what I don't have it right here. I need to fill this section in right here.
Okay.
Once I get that filled in, I can give you that information.
Well, this would be a good tool to see what's about paid off.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I can get that for you. Once we finalize this, I'll do a triple check of everything and make sure I have everything completely done correctly. If there's any major changes, we may have to have an emergency meeting, but for the most part, I feel pretty comfortable with the numbers. I will have to, in order for us to have a budget hearing on September 7th, I would have to have it published by this weekend. So if we don't want to have it on September 7th, we could have it that following week. We're still within our parameters.
Well, I think we can tackle that on our next meeting or so to see where we're at, see if we need to move it.
Okay. Well, you won't have time. Oh, tomorrow, you mean? At your meeting tomorrow?
We're meeting tomorrow, yes.
Okay. So I'll do a final walkthrough of it. I have a budget meeting with the city tonight. So, yeah, I know. I'm kind of crammed with budget meetings right now.
Long night.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night.
That vacation's getting closer.
It is. I know. It's September. I can't wait. So I'll do final numbers, and then there's also a lot of stuff that I'm going to have to get with Kendall on to. Don't we combine the two budgets for like the cemeteries and everything? Yeah. So we'll have some final stuff before we.
So what we got? All we got left in reserve and contingency. I didn't look at it.
Yeah, we did.
Contingency?
Yeah, we do. We have a reserve and contingency. There's a $250,000 cash reserve. It has dropped just a little bit, but you also have some money built in some other areas, $100,000 built in general government contingency. So there's really about $350,000 that's built in. You know, if you were to have I think where those are designated is if there's some big murder trials or any kind of big
Right.
trials,
Yeah,
you have
those.
money set aside for that.
Well, this gives us a few days to look it over,
Mm-hmm.
see what we
Yep.
actually can
So then I won't.
get our hands around.
I guess you want me just to set the budget hearing for the following Tuesday, not September 7th, but that following Tuesday, because I have to have it published 10 days before the hearing. That'd probably give Kendall and I more time too.
Okay.
Can it be on Wednesday since we're here anyway? Or
Um,
have to be?
Are we gonna
So,
keep are we gonna
today's the
move
24th.
our meetings back to Tuesday?
We was asked to, at
Well,
your request.
we can't make that decision today, but there has been talk about getting it back
To a Tuesday?
because there's a conflict.
Okay, so.
We're gonna talk about that tomorrow probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
so, so September, let's see, September 7th, so it'd be September 14th. Would
And we're still
be,
within-
and then I would have, hang on. We would have, next Tuesday, the 31st, or the September 1st, wherever we have our meeting, we would publish it on the 4th and give us enough days. We have to have 10 days. So we could publish it on the 4th to be presented on the 14th. Does that sound okay? The 7th is when you have your revenue neutral rate hearing.
Okay,
So,
sounds great.
or it might be again.
Okay, so September 7th, you'll have your revenue neutral rate hearing.
Right,
And then September 14th will be when you have your budget hearing.
right.
Okay.
That'll work.
Okay. This will give you
Got
some
any
time.
questions?
Now, I would be more than happy to go through more detail if you want me to.
Well, I'm always curious, you know, if being a department head in the past, if why the sheriff would want another 100, I'm just throwing numbers out, 100,000, why Patty would want another 20, Eric would want another 100. I mean, I think that's the information we need to know that helps us make sure we're making good decisions.
Okay.
Not being nose in the departments, I don't want it to sound like that, but,
Well, let's
you know,
just
if it's for
let's just kind of
additional-
walk through and see if
One
there's
thing-
any
one
that
thing
stand
we have
out.
to really watch is, yeah, we are giving more money this year to that budget, but we may not have that funds next year.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have to be cognizant of that the whole time, so, you know, we can't continually expand these budgets forever.
Well, and that's what
Except for maybe, we always want to look to make sure we're competitive
Yeah.
on wages.
Well, that's why I'm kind of asking questions. And again, I'm not picking on anybody, throwing numbers. Let's say Bill's went up 125,000. He goes out and hires 3 or 4 new people, and next year we really can't fund it because the revenue's not where we thought it was. So it would be nice to be part of that loop just to understand what we're doing,
Right.
planning wise. In general, I don't want a lot of detail, but
I understand.
So let's just kind of walk down through some of these. County treasurer's made a request for additional funding. Let me pull her. Clerk treasurer, there she is. And so, part of that increase was the deputy. We had agreed to increase that, so that's part of it. There's a 15% increase in publications due to the Tribune annual increase, and so, you know, her increase is about $20,000 extra. And I would say it's a combination of both those two items.
okay, thank you.
For district court, I know they came in and talked to you. I think Mark Ward was the one that came in and talked to you all about that.
Yeah, Judge Wolf
Like
came
a-
down and
like
got
a-
us an explanation.
Yeah, like a $6,000 increase, it wasn't much.
Yeah, this is, no, it's more than that. It's 15,
Oh, is it?
$17,000, $18,000 increase. I'm gonna try and look and see where the line item is that it really went up. It's for juror fees and travel. It's 10,000. Witness fees and travel.
Okay.
So that's where it's at. Costs that they really probably can't, control. IT, I know where that one's going up. We have extended some hours with the sharing with the city, and so that's gone up because of that. And then the conservation was the other one that went up, and we just talked about that one. Let's see. Mental health, there was no increase there. EMS ambulance, there's a little bit of increase in personnel services. Not much, it's more than 3%. Public safety. So over the prior, I'm going to say over 2020, there is about $140,000.
Additional.
Part of that is in the correctional center. There was not enough budgeted last year. I mean, just to even cover the hours. So it really is a little bit of an increase for your 3%.
And that happened because of 2019.
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember that? Where we allocated an extra $50,000 in miscellaneous for corrections that didn't get there.
Their commodities have gone up because of the cost of food service. And so that was one of the things that we talked about. They've tried to find other ways to cut costs, but they have actually been pretty full in the jail and that's going to make your costs go up. And so that's part of that cost. In the sheriff's department, there's an increase in commodities there as well. Let me see if I can remember what those were. Part of that is fuel costs. Fuel costs are up. I mean, I think we all know that.
That book's amazing.
The other, this is how I stay organized.
Yeah.
What you read.
Some of the overtime in the correctional center. So because there is so much turnover in those positions. I mean, we really probably need to look at a way to figure out how to restructure so that we're not losing people. And it's because of the pay. I mean, it is. I mean, they're getting paid $12 an hour to be a correctional officer. So I really think that's a issue for us. I don't know how we address that. That's something we need to look at all next year. Is how do we fund these areas? But what would happen is with COVID, people would have to take off their 10 days. Then they would have to be covered with another person that is getting overtime. And so it was just a vicious cycle that was happening in that area. On the sheriff's side, they are having to transport a lot. And so, that could be 200 to 300 miles that they're having to travel to transport people. Again, overtime comes into play when you're having to, I mean, they can't control that. That's just something that they have to do. So that's part of their costs.
And is that because we're full? We got
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Transport, why?
Because we're full out there, we got to transport them someplace else?
And some of it is they get called. They just get called to be transferred to another area, right?
I don't know.
Do I
I don't
understand
know,
that
but
correctly?
we're responsible for transporting to somebody else's,
Yeah.
for somebody else's crime. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
I think
know
we
either.
are. But we're doing a lot of I know we're doing a lot of transports. That was one of the things that they said that their costs have gone up because of that. The mobile data terminals, just the costs, the records management costs. I saw it on the city side as well. Those costs continue to go up. So you've got to accommodate for that. We've pulled out a lot of the, what's that?
Kind of increase we're showing for mobile data, because we did the mobile data terminals to save time and money.
I know, but the software to run it, you have to do an annual maintenance fee agreement, and it's $20,000 just for that. So, and we've seen the same thing go on the city side. I think one thing where we might be able to, and I've talked to the sheriff about this. He's not as ready to ask for this, but I think we could possibly get some reimbursement for some SRO, in the future if we're going to continue that program at Uniontown. I mean, I think there needs to be a cost share involved.
We have a contract with the school.
Yeah. No,
No.
we do not. And then vehicle repairs, of course, your ongoing maintenance is always a large cost. So those are the things that we discussed in our meetings. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. But we will continue to look for ways to cut expenditures in public safety. Bridge and Culvert.
I would, just speaking about public safety, our average per person across our county, if you include the sheriff's department and the Fort Scott Police Department, our average cost per person in our county is actually less than the national average, quite a bit. So, just so people are aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're not necessarily overfunding our law enforcement.
And I think if we can fund them and do a 2 mil decrease,
Yeah.
I think we've done
Well.
well.
Yes.
Bridge and Culvert, it has gone up just a little bit, and that is for contractual services as your main area. Election stayed flat. Road and Bridge. I'm going to look at both of them, Road and Bridge, and let's see, that's the resources. Expenditures. It has gone up about $100,000 in Road and Bridge.
I'm sorry, how much?
100,000.
Okay.
But let's look at, you got to kind of look at that one and also the sales tax one hand in hand. So let me get to it. And so your sales tax one is essentially pretty flat compared to previous years. Part of it's your increase in salaries. And commodities. So it really comes in your commodities, so putting more material on the road, looks like. And all of that was presented in that 10-year plan of what it would cost to do so many miles and make sure that we're getting everything accomplished. So, any questions there? Or anything else you want me to find out?
No, it sounds like we're on track. I want to make sure we're really, echoing what Clifton just said, we're funding our sheriff's department, or building that way, getting where we need to be. I mean, to avoid some of this overtime and give some of those folks enough money to stay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if we had to.
And at the sheriff's department, I know we always are comparing city and county. We're really, it's different because the sheriff's department is running off of 40 hours, and after 40 hours, they are at overtime. At the city, we have some built-in, we actually run, they work 22, 36 hours in a year before they hit overtime. And so it doesn't, we may pay a little less at the city, but at the end, their wages end up being about the same annually because of how we're both set up. So even though we may have a lower hourly rate here at the city, and there's a higher one at the sheriff's department,
Okay.
but it's you almost have to look at their annual wage to really see. I think there's a way you could have savings though if you change to more of a the way the city operates.
Yeah. Now, this one you submitted for the sheriff, is he pretty happy with it? Has he worked with you? Does he know what we're doing with his budget?
Who's that?
Sheriff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we work together on it.
Good. I figured you did.
Yeah.
I want to make sure Bill's happy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he'll have some comment for me after this.
Well, in reality, I mean, there's a little room to trim, but Bill needs it. Other places, we could shove a little bit. We got to get that right, because that's been going on for quite some time out there,
Yeah.
the funding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the correctional center is an area that we really need to focus in on for pay.
Yeah.
So, okay, so moving on. Appraiser's office, it actually dropped over 2020 numbers. It has dropped about $15,000. Noxious weed stayed relatively flat. Special bridge, I think is a new department, is that correct?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's a pretty new department.
Yeah, it was new 21 was the first year for it, really.
Yeah, and so, and we know there's a need there, and so we built in some money in capital outlay. I mean, we jumped it up about $40,000.
Okay. That'd be a good investment.
Yeah. Special alcohol and drugs, that is dependent on if you receive any kind of funding through your alcohol tax, and so that's kind of, it varies. Jail sales tax, we have budgeted a lot more than what we have in the past, and that is for debt service, capital outlay for public safety, and even just a little bit more for this building, maybe to replace windows.
Does the jail sales tax allow salaries come out of it?
It says operational. I wouldn't want to become dependent on that for salaries, unless we have a really good plan of how we're going to roll it back into, you know, a tax levy.
You also have to realize that the amount of money we collect on sales tax will go down over time because our payments will increase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing that I could think of in that area is maybe we really stop and talk about, you know, what is future expansion of that going to look like? That's a way that you could generate some revenue. You know, if we expand those pods, there has been talk about that.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a planning session in itself to really talk through that. Road and bridge sales tax is pretty flat. Emergency management, that is a grant. We really don't even have to budget that. Terry has always done that in the past, and so I reached out to him and said, is that necessary? So I will probably just take that one out because it is a grant. I'll just
Well,
put it in our.
some money coming in from FEMA, you know, when it's all said and done, for a problem that we incur, or flooded a couple of years ago.
I thought they already got that.
Yeah, we've already got that, and it's already
All of
been
it?
built in. Yeah, the 350,000.
Okay,
Is
Yep.
that just a reserve for his bridge
Yeah, that's in
projects maybe?
special, I think we
Yeah.
put that in special,
special machinery?
no, as a capital outlay
Capital
funding
outlay.
that we put it
I
in.
didn't know if we
Yeah.
finally got final payment on it or not.
Yeah,
I think
I
he'll,
know they put in for more on this last round.
yeah, he'll need her for clipping the big bridge up there. I don't think it's gonna be enough, but we can try.
yeah. But you might be able to use it as your match if you
Yeah.
get a grant. I
Yeah.
think that would be very helpful.
Yes.
Special parks, again, that's from your alcohol tax. Landfill, I have heard that we're doing much better than we anticipated. We have a local company that's actually using us. And then also the building that we tore
You
down
wanna-
is
oh.
probably helping just a little bit.
Want me to expand on that a little bit?
Sure.
We have trash service in Uniontown. And it's not, and we're probably gonna change carriers. But this carrier has went from $86 to $138 a month in the last 3 years.
Okay.
And
But-
most of it's been in the last 2.
Well, that's one thing about a landfill, when you just think it's on its last leg, it
Yeah.
starts coming back up.
Yeah, I know.
It done it, Lynn and I's dealt with
We've
this
dealt with
forever.
this thing.
Yeah, I would rather do a budget amendment than not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're gonna budget conservatively and we'll do a budget amendment if we
Good.
have to.
That's
So,
great news, so.
Yeah. Sewer district, just paying the debt service. The medical building, I am still trying to gather, I think I sent you an email last night, all of the agreements that we have. I don't have, exhibit A to the agreement. And so I'm gonna need to know that to really make sure my projections are correct.
I'm not guaranteeing I have exhibit A.
Okay. And then I also need,
We'll probably be able to track it down.
I think we've received rent from everybody but Ascension, so I need to get with Ascension and see where their rental payment is.
Maybe. Oh, this is what you're looking for.
I hope. And then I just basically budgeted everything that I think we're coming in, so we have the
Oh, is that-
spending authority. That is exactly what I need, maybe. Okay, I'll look through that. So that one is basically whatever rent we have set aside, we'll budget for that. I do have a conversation this week with IM Rehab. I don't know if they're wanting to renegotiate, so that is something that we can talk about tomorrow in the meeting, just so that I'm prepared for, you know, what the talk might be. The next one is the ARPA funding. We got 1.4 million this year. We'll get 1.4 million next year, and so I just budgeted the entire amount for that.
And you said we could carry that over through 2024?
25.
25.
I think it has to be completely,
Spent by 2025?
yes,
Okay.
or allocated.
Or allocated, so
Yep.
we could actually count on that for
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
costs that
We
the
have,
public safety.
yep, we have some time to really plan for those dollars.
Yes.
Good.
And that's it, guys.
What does $600,000 from the Mercy donation do?
It is not in here.
Okay.
So, that is another thing that I need to know where you want that funding to be placed. Do you want it just to set it in the medical, budget so that we have it set aside?
Well, we're using it to pay, you know, for expenses at that facility. So we need to have it somewhere where it's visible, where,
I don't
We
think
could
you're
say
gonna
you're
need to
paying
touch
on
it,
this.
honestly. Not with what, I don't think you're gonna need to touch it at this
well, I
point.
hope not.
I think it can just be set aside. That'd probably be the best place to put it so that it doesn't get used.
Well, that would be my request.
Call it like the general health maintenance fund or something, or?
Well, there's a medical building fund, it's Fund 385,
Okay.
that we can just set it in there as a line item and just make sure we watch the cash balance, make sure it never goes below that.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, let me say, Susan, you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
You've done a great job. I don't know how the taxpayers could not be happy with the possibility of a 2.5 meal drop. I just,
I think, we did this, and I know you two and I received an email questioning,
yeah,
holidays.
yeah.
When you started looking at Christmas and New Year's and President's Day and Memorial Day and 4th of July and Labor Day and Veterans Day and Thanksgiving, 2 days, this is something that the schools, the banks, and most of businesses take off, because I know when I was in the corporate world, we took almost every one of those off.
Yeah.
We have one extra that I wouldn't touch, because I'm proud that Mr. Rule brought it up,
Good Friday.
and that's Good Friday.
Yeah. Well, if you've managed people, and everyone in this room has, a happy employee is more productive. So
You have to
there's no
look forward to
reason,
those days off.
there's no reason for us to make all those people unhappy at this time. We don't have to, so.
That's
Well,
right.
and right now I feel like it's kind of offsetting your lower wages. And we could pay them more by maybe reducing some of those.
Well, let me tell you, let's look at that realistic. If you took out 3 days, how much money are you going to save?
Yeah. Not enough to give everybody a $1 raise.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna speak for Road and Bridge. Of course, if we had people on vacation or et cetera, there was times staff was down, but we had small projects we could do. And we do the big projects, the next day everybody was back, so it wasn't a lack of production. There's always something to do in Road and Bridge or other departments as well, so.
The one that suffers the most is public safety, because they have to have someone
Yeah,
there.
yeah, they have to have somebody there, yeah, I agree.
And so they suffer the most, because they have to have people going around out the community.
Yep.
And they have to have people watching the bridge.
Next year, as I have more time to really kind of get into all of this, I will, I'll spend some time just looking to see if there are ways that we can maybe shift some things around so that we can boost up wages. So without raising the levy.
Well, that's one of the reasons that you're here.
I know.
Yeah, and you're
And
right.
I will tell you, sales tax, unfortunately, it doesn't help the general fund, but sales tax is increasing.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been very good because people are shopping local.
I made that point this morning, that we were one year, 8 months into the COVID, and, and all the downsides, all the hardships and everything else, but I said the upside is that people are staying home and shopping local,
Yeah.
which is good for the county.
Yeah.
And I think that will continue to increase because of the activities that Rob and other people's doing that will encourage folks to come to Fort Scott.
He's done a great job.
Rob's doing a great job. So.
Yeah. He's got some big things on the horizon,
He does,
I
doesn't
think.
he?
Yeah. Got a phone call this morning.
Yep.
Pretty exciting.
He called me.
He's a busy man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank
Pretty
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Susan.
Anything else, let me know.
Yeah, I would entertain a motion to close this budget work session.
I make a motion to close the budget work session.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Next year, you really get